welcome. I'd like to call to order our regular City Council meeting for Tuesday, October 6th, 2020. Would everyone please stand or sit for the Pledge of Allegiance? You after all together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Wilkes.
Here.
Council President Roseman.
Here.
Councilor Rouse. Councilor Rouse. Here.
Waving.
Councilor Garland.
I'm here.
Councilor Young. Here. Councilor Griffin.
Here.
And Councilor Scott.
I'm here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Approval of agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Got that, Sylv?
No.
Councilor Griffin and then Councilor Young.
All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Council. We have 7 items on our consent agenda today. Sorry. 7 items on our consent. Item A is approval of the September 15th, 2020 City Council meeting minutes. Item B is Resolution 2020-070, appointing Daniel Batts to the Sherwood Planning Commission. Item C is Resolution 2020-071, amending the City of Sherwood's harassment, discrimination, retaliation policy, and reporting procedures. Item D is Resolution 2020-072, authorizing the city manager to sign a grant agreement and construction contract for rural broadband. Item E is Resolution 2020-073, authorizing full faith and credit borrowings to refinance outstanding obligations to the city. Item F, Resolution 2020-074, establishing and appointing an advisory committee for development of an urban renewal plan. Item G, and the last item on the consent agenda, is Resolution 2020-076, authorizing the city manager to sign an IGA with Clackamas Educational Service District for data connectivity services.
I move consent.
Second.
I move consent.
It's been moved and seconded a couple times each. Thank you, Council. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Council. Next item on our agenda is citizen comments. In our pandemic world, we take citizen comments in advance in writing. So if you want to give comment before the next meeting, please email it to the city recorder 24 hours or more in advance. Sylvia, do we have any citizen comments tonight?
Mayor, we do not.
Thank you, Sylvia. Moving to citizen presentations, recognition of Eagle Scout Award recipient. Unfortunately, our Eagle Scout did not make it today. We suggested either tonight or the October 20th council meeting, but unfortunately the 1020 is all work session only, and he wasn't able to be here today. But want to recognize Matthew Castronovo for attaining the rank of Eagle Scout. It is an incredible achievement. Greatly, we're excited that he made that accomplishment, that rank. To get that rank, for those not in the loop, not seen it before, it requires a significant project and other criteria in the community, raising the funds to do it, getting help to make it possible, And Matthew's invited to come at a future meeting to share with us all about his project. But we have a certificate of appreciation for him achieving the rank of Eagle Scout that we will send to him. So congratulations to Matthew, and I'm sure your family, your parents, and are all very proud of you, as we are as well. Oops. Next, we have public hearings. We have 2 items on our public hearing. Sylvia?
Yes, there's 2 items. The Sherwood City Council will hold public hearings this evening to hear testimony on 2 items on the agenda. Ordinance 2020-008, approving annexation of 10.90 acres to the city of Sherwood and 10.50 acres to clean water services within the Conklin employment area, comprised of 1 tax lot and adjacent to Southwest Oregon Street and Southwest Conklin Road right-of-way. Item B on the agenda is Ordinance 2020-009, amending Chapter 2.36 of the Sherwood Municipal Code relating to personnel systems, memorializing the expectation of the police department and police chief. At this time, Ordinance 2020-008, this is the first hearing. For Ordinance 009, this is the second hearing. The first hearing on Ordinance 008 for the council tonight will be presented by Sam. At this time, council will hold 2 hearings prior to making a decision. If the council continues this, it's currently scheduled for October the 20th. From the staff report, mayor and council, you will see that there is a continuation from the applicant on this item to November. And staff can present that information. For the second ordinance of 009, this is the second hearing before the city council on this item. A decision may be made by the council at the close of this hearing, or the matter may be continued to a time and date certain. If the matter is continued to a time and date certain, this is the only notice that that date will receive. Mayor and council, at this time, we have not received any written testimony for either item.
Thank you, Sylvia. All right, Eric?
Yeah, good evening, Mayor Mays and City Council. I'm happy to be with you again this evening. It will be another short presentation, and let me just get the presentation up.
Hey, Eric, your volume's pretty low.
I'll speak louder. Can you hear me now?
A little better.
How about now?
Really no change, but we can adjust.
It is the downside of Microsoft Teams because I have to, for you to hear me, have to wear my headphones. Where on Zoom, I do not have to do that.
I can read your mind, Councilor Rosner.
So I don't know if there. How is that? I don't think there's a microphone on here. Is that better?
That's better.
It is better.
Awesome. Okay. So let me share my screen with you here as PowerPoint. All right. So as I was saying, good evening, Mayor Mays and City Council. Eric Rutledge, Associate Planner here at the City of Sherwood. Happy to be with you again. It'll be another short presentation as the applicant has requested a second continuance, and this is for the Poly annexation case file LU 2020-010-AN. And just as a reminder, the property is here at the southeast and southwest corner of Oregon Street and Tonquin Road. I'm sure you know we've been seeing a lot of interest for annexations. This property to the east has been annexed, and at one of the recent city council meetings, the property here to the south, the Kerr property, was also annexed, and so this property fits nicely in with those annexations. Similar to the last city council hearing on September 1st, the applicant has requested a second continuance to a date certain of November 17th, 2020. And the reason is the same, in order to flesh out the Oregon Street Access Management Plan, and also in order for the property owner as the applicant to understand how the property would be impacted by the access points along Oregon Street, both in the interim and for the permanent configuration. And just to clarify something, the Oregon Street Access Management Plan is not a requirement for annexation. As indicated in the staff report, the property meets the criteria now for annexation, and the continuance requested is really just for the owner of the property and the applicant, as the applicant, to really understand how the future access, if they were to annex and then develop, where those access points will be, and what the street dedication requirements might look like. So prior to going through the annexation process, they're hoping to get more clarification on what the requirements would be for access and right-of-way dedication. And based off of that request and the ongoing access management study, staff recommends continuing the hearing to a date certain of November 17th, 2020. A very brief presentation. Happy to take any questions if there are any.
Any questions? Going once? Going twice? Discussion? Going once? Going twice? And it's exciting. Another annexation applicant. And talking employment area. It's great news. We're getting lots and lots of land brought in. One thing we should do, I think, certainly grant the applicant's request and continue this so that we'll have the second reading. Is that your interpretation that he wants to have the second reading on November 17th, or does he want to extend the first reading to November 17th?
We would do the first reading, so staff give a full staff presentation of the annexation application at the November 17th hearing as the first reading. That's my understanding.
Okay, so does someone want to make a motion to continue this first reading to the November 17th meeting?
I'll make a motion to continue this to the November meeting for first reading.
Second. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of continuing Ordinance 2020-008 in the first reading to the November 17th, 2020 City Council meeting? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Eric. Next is the second reading for Ordinance 2020-009. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. And as both you and Sylvia have aptly stated, this is 2020-009, amending Chapter 2.36 of our municipal code relating to personnel systems and memorializing expectations of the police department and police chief. And you all, during your regular council meeting on September 15th, held a public hearing and the first reading for this ordinance. So unless there's any questions, I will turn it back over to you and see if there's any discussion or questions regarding the ordinance.
Questions from Council for Chief?
No questions for me. I just will reiterate that this did go through the Police Advisory Board as well and bringing it to us as a recommendation.
Thank you. Awesome discussion amongst council. I think it's great job. Love it. Support it. Does anyone want to do the read, caption, adopt thing?
I move that we recaption and adopt Ordinance 2020-009, amending Chapter 2.36 of the Sherwood Municipal Code relating to personnel systems, memorializing the expectations of the police department and police chief.
Second.
Awesome. Thank you, Renee. Thank you, Kim.
Ordinance 2020-009, amending Chapter 2.36 of the Sherwood Municipal Code relating to personnel systems, memorializing the expectations of the police department and police chief. Councilor Scott, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chief. Next item is Resolution 2020-075, amending the city's fiscal year 2020-21 fee schedule.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. There are two amendments being brought forth in front of council tonight. For council and the folks following at home, these amendments can be found on page 185 and 186 of the meeting packet. The first focused on business license fees. In late spring, staff were asked to review the city's business license fees. The changes proposed would create an incentive discount program for certain categories of businesses and clarify and align some language. We are not recommending any changes to the core fees at this time. And the reason for that is staff didn't feel it was appropriate to recommend any changes in light of the COVID pandemic that America and the world is experiencing right now. But we will revisit and we look at those fees every year during the spring, during the budget process, and the next time we'll look at those is fiscal year 2021/22. The second amendment focuses on correcting rental time blocks under the Sherwood Center for the Arts. And this came about during a recent rental inquiry for use of the Art Center. Staff realized that the classroom rental time blocks listed in the master fee schedule were incorrect. The designated time blocks did not match between standard and nonprofit rates. And so staff is just looking to correct this to reflect the accurate rental time blocks of the 2-hour, 4-hour, and 10-hour periods. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions you may have about that.
Seems pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah, it's reasonable, and I appreciate the thought behind it.
Happy to make a motion.
Mayor and council, excuse me, prior to the motion, just for the record, this is a public hearing and there were no items submitted for this item.
Thank you, Sylvia. So Kim, you're making a motion?
Yes, I make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-075, amending the city's fiscal year 2020-21 fee schedule.
I'll second that.
I'm not sure who seconded it. I think there were threes there.
Maryland.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilor Garland. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving Resolution 2020-075, amending the city's fiscal year 2020-21 fee schedule, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, council.
Thanks, David. And Joe. City manager report.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I have one item, and then we'll open it up to any questions the council might have for myself or my team who are on the call. Wanted to talk about something that happened last week with the voters pamphlet that I want to give credit to Sylvia Murphy, our city recorder. One of the many hats that Sylvia wears as city recorder, she's our elections officer here for the city. And she was looking online, I think it was midweek last week, on the county's website, and they had just posted the voters pamphlet. And she was looking for Sherwood-specific items and discovered that there was no information in the voters pamphlet about the recreational marijuana measure that is on the ballot here in Sherwood. So she contacted the folks at the county elections office to inquire, and it was discovered that it was inadvertently not in the document, and the document had already been printed, unfortunately. So the county acted pretty quickly and is putting together a supplemental voters pamphlet that will be going out to Sherwood voters. And they got information out. A number of city councilors shared it through social media. And then we found out today, Sylvia did, Sherwood voters will be getting 3 actual separate documents, hopefully all on the same day. They're going to try to coordinate mail for all 3 at the same time. So there will be a state voters pamphlet, and then a county voters pamphlet that was too large to insert into the state voters pamphlet, and then the third supplemental voters pamphlet, which is specific to the recreational marijuana measure. So the information will be getting into voters' hands so they can review the documents and the proposed language, and hopefully everything will arrive the same day or maybe a day apart. So I wanted to make sure our viewers at home knew that, and we can answer any questions you might have about that. But she also confirmed with county elections that the ballot is fine. There's no questions about that measure not being on the ballot. They confirmed that that is fine as well. So I appreciate Sylvia doing her eagle eye checking. It probably would have been caught at some point, but she caught it right away and got in touch with the county, and they were able to move pretty fast to fix the situation. Any questions on that from the mayor or council members?
Kudos, Sylvia. Good job. Good catch. Great work. If it was a couple days later, then they'd be scrambling and they wouldn't all reach voters' hands at about the same time.
So that's all I had in terms of report, but I'm certainly open to any questions council members might have for myself or my department head team, who are, I think, all on the call.
Joe, construction projects, how are they going? That people have seen around town? And I know, but what's the current status so people might?
Yep. So a number of projects. The construction season, as we know, is closing. Although we've had great weather this week, and a lot of contractors are taking advantage of the weather. They lost a week or two with the air quality, as you know. So some of the projects fell behind schedule. The big project, which is a county project over near the new high school, that intersection is almost complete. There's still some punch list items that have to be done. The big change that happened last week that I was certainly happy to see was the new lights started working, and they took the old lights down. The timing on those, anytime ODOT opens up a new intersection, the timing usually takes anytime from 3 to 5 days to make adjustments to deal with traffic flow. So I know I've seen some posts and some frustration from drivers, especially on Sunset in the afternoon, wanting to turn left. That should get better over time. Those intersections are all controlled by ODOT. The city doesn't have any control. We can certainly complain if we see issues related to the timing, but we don't control that intersection. It's a county-controlled intersection. So we'll be very, very happy when all of that work is finally wrapped up, hopefully within the next week or two. There was a delay for about 2 weeks. A couple councilors that asked me, the new high school actually does not have a permanent certificate of occupancy yet, because the road improvements were a condition of the approval. So until the road work is all accepted by the county, because that's a county project and the city has a say in that, we won't issue a final certificate of occupancy for the high school. Students aren't there, so that really doesn't matter tremendously.
But would it have?
It would have, yes, it would have. So that's one major project that I think we'll all be happy to be complete. And then hopefully in a year or two, we'll be building a pedestrian crossing there, and there'll be more construction there again, so if we have our ways. The project on Sunset and Pine, the sidewalk and infrastructure improvements, also there was a delay with the air quality, and there was also an issue related to a natural gas line that needed to get replaced that was not necessarily identified in the plans. So there's been a short delay in that, but that will continue. That should get wrapped up hopefully in the next few weeks. Again, it's not impacting pedestrians for school. It would have been a big hiccup if the schools and kids were walking to Archer Glen, but that is not the case right now. So that's a project that hopefully will get wrapped up soon. And then the big private development that we're very excited that started last week is, if you haven't driven along 12th and Sherwood Road and 124th Street, You'll be shocked to see 50 acres of dirt being moved. Trammell Crow, who owns that development, actually, I think they took possession of that property Wednesday morning, finally, after 4 years of effort, and then they picked up their grading permit at noon, and I think they were on site that afternoon. I think Mayor May said they're already putting silt fence up, and the next day they were actually moving dirt. So they're going to town, obviously, to get as much done during the nice weather. But that's a major, major development for Sherwood. It's going to have ultimately over almost 600,000 square feet of industrial and commercial space. 5 separate buildings will go into that site. So we're very excited to see that happening and the opportunities it will present. That's probably the number one goal of this council, is economic development and job creation and broadening our tax base. And we're really excited to see that project finally get off the ground. If everything goes well, that probably will be done by the end of 2021. You'll see buildings and everything else.
There by that 50 acres. I know the answer. I'm just setting you up. What's that odd structure that has become revealed? The water.
Oh yes. If you did not know, the water tank on the hill that used to be fairly well hidden by trees, which have now been removed, that is a City of Tualatin water tank.
Yeah.
That many people probably don't realize that the City of Tualatin has a water tank within the City of Sherwood.
Indeed.
I would like to make a request. So, Joe, when the city annexes that parcel specifically, would you call the city manager of Tualatin and ask them to take their welcome to the City of Tualatin sign and move it over on the other side of the intersection so it's actually in Tualatin, it won't be in Sherwood any longer?
Correct. Yes.
That would be great.
Yes.
Because it says welcome to Tualatin right in front of the Trammell Crow property.
Yes.
Let's
Well,
move
we'd
it
be
down the
happy
road.
to even move it for them on their behalf. I'm happy.
I would love to help with that, actually. Craig, Sheldon, I would love to help with that. So.
Can we paint a big red S on their water tank?
Pope and son. Yeah. That is the best thing you've ever said, Doug Scott.
Well,
Other questions?
Yeah, well, I'd just like to just throw a big thank you out to Julia and her team and Bruce Coleman, our legendary economic development manager, Bruce Coleman. For those of you out there in TV land that don't know him, they've done an amazing job of greasing the tracks to get that project in here. Not to mention a lot of other projects that are in the works. So kudos and thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. We have potentially up to 1 million square feet of additional industrial space on the horizon in the Tonkin employment area. I mean, it's really wonderful to see that finally taken off.
I'm working on the Economic Development Quarterly Report right now, and I think you'll be very excited about what's in there.
I'm very excited.
Other questions for Joe or team? Chief, question. You might have put it out on social media. Since I don't live on that platform, I don't know. But you did share a couple of really disturbing videos that were captured by our safety infrastructure. You want to tell us about those?
Sure, and I was actually preparing the post, and then I realized that maybe I should check with our city attorney, Josh Soper, first, since they will be pending court cases, and they would likely draw immense attention from potentially the media or others, and so the little Josh voice in the back of my head said, maybe we don't want to attract that attention while these are pending court process. So anyway, yeah, we just another very, very blatant, extreme reminder of why we should, and in my humble opinion, every community should have automated enforcement systems for speed and or red lights or both. So we had somebody that was captured in our system in a 2-day period, not actually like 2 calendar days, but really at about 24 hours, received 4 speeding citations. One was just kind of run-of-the-mill, I think at 57 or 59 miles an hour. The other 3 were 92, 97, and 101 miles an hour.
Wow.
So they were extremely egregious, extremely unsafe and dangerous. And so, yeah, it's as I said, it's just it's shocking, and so I'm glad, frankly, that the system is working as it's intended and designed, and it's doing exactly what you as the policymakers have hoped that it will do, and that is to hold dangerous behavior accountable. So.
And those are 45-mile-an-hour zones, correct?
Yeah, those are, speed limits are 45 miles an hour, and 2 of those, I think 2 of those citations were at the recently newly designed Sunset intersection, and 1 was at 12th and Sherwood Road. I could have that backwards, but anyway, it was I know that both intersections saw at least 1, and then one of them had 2, so.
Crazy. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Chief.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions of Joe or his team? The La Provence, our Old Town special event.
Alfresco.
Alfresco. I'm not French or close. Whatever link that's
That wasn't even close.
Exactly. That's why I am not ever considered creative or bilingual or whatever, or a strong memory. You know, it's Swiss cheese, man. It's still in place. Joe, how much longer is it in place?
We extended it to the end of October, Halloween.
Awesome. So folks know. Great. Anything else for Joe? All right, we'll move to council announcements. Who'd like to make announcements?
Yes, I can go first. I'll just kind of piggyback a little bit on the supplemental ballot measure packet that went out. I just wanted to publicly clear up any concern or questions about, I have an argument in favor on that measure, and I've received some feedback that it's maybe a little unclear as to my language in that letter, so I just wanted to read very clearly from the explanatory statement to explain what the designation of the potential tax revenues would be from that. So from the explanatory statement that would be written in the voter's pamphlet supplemental pack that you'll receive, it says, due to the prohibition on recreational marijuana facilities currently in effect in the city, Sherwood is not eligible to receive an allocation of state taxes on retail sales of recreational marijuana items. Approval of this measure would result in the city becoming eligible to receive those funds under current state law. Approval of this measure would also allow the city to begin collecting a 3% local tax on retail sales of recreational marijuana items. And this is the part that is a little unclear in my statement. A 3% local tax, local 3% local tax on retail sales of recreational marijuana items, and this measure would require that the revenue from this local recreational marijuana tax be used by the city exclusively for public safety purposes. So I just wanted to clear that up. In the statement I had in there, it seemed a little ambiguous as to whether it would be all the taxes would be used for public safety, but as this measure is written, and as stated in the explanatory statement, it's very specifically written that says that it's just the 3% local tax on retail sales. So I just wanted to be very crystal clear and public on that, and apologies for any confusion that may have come from that. The only other thing I had to mention today was just also again with voting. We have 1 week until the voter registration deadline next Tuesday. So if you haven't registered to vote yet, please go to the Secretary of State website, and if you have registered to vote, please go to the Secretary of State website and confirm your registration. There's an option, I think it's myvote.org is the website where you can just type in your name and your birth date, and absolutely make sure that you're registered to vote so you can get the ballots that will be sent out on the 14th. That's it.
Thank you, Sean. Yep, be sure to vote. Be sure to vote. Every American should vote. Other announcements?
I'll jump in. So, first, I appreciate Sean saying that. I thought it was a little confusing, but there seems to be a lot of confusing messages going around the potential tax revenues should the ban be repealed. So, just to be clear, that the 3% would designate towards public safety, and then the share that the city would get of the 17% at this point would be general fund money, unless the city council hearing from folks designated it elsewhere. But I don't have too much to share. The YMCA Columbia Willamette just started a COVID-19 sustainability campaign to help. I'm sure, like everybody else, they are probably struggling financially. And so if you go to their Facebook page or website and you feel like helping, they have been a tremendous resource through COVID-19, providing childcare, providing food, providing all kinds of help to essential workers, way more than a fitness gym would be providing to our community. So if you are interested in that, please check them out, and if you're able to give and you're wanting to, help out there. That is all I have for me.
Thank you, Kim.
On the next, I have one item. It's a sad note. Many of you know I'm the liaison to the Historical Society, which manages a lot of the historical records for Sherwood and the Moorback House, which is a great museum if you haven't been out there yet. But one of the board members, Wilkes, passed away recently, back in August, and we're real sad that she's no longer with us. She was an amazing individual on that board and did a lot of incredible work for the Historical Society. A lot of the parents and kids in town might remember her when they do Pioneer Days, and the kids would go down to Pioneer Park and they would get a lesson in Pioneer Sherwood and things that happened. And Ida would run a classroom in the style that they had class, back in the late 1800s, including having a bucket of water with a ladle at the door that kids would get their water from, which the kids couldn't understand why they couldn't have plastic water in plastic cups. But last week they had a nice little ceremony over there, and they dedicated a plaque to the classroom door over there, and it says Ida's class, which is really cool. So that happened last week. So we'll miss Ida. She was a big part of the Historical Society and our community, and I thought I would pass that along. That's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim.
I'll jump in real quick. Planning Commission did not meet last week because the fifth week of the month, but they will be meeting again next week. So right here Tuesday, meeting for that. Other than that, the only thing I would add is just to go vote. Besides all the normal federal and state elections, we obviously have the marijuana recreational sales thing here. We have council seats and mayor seat up for re-election. Metro has an enormous $5 billion plus bond, payroll tax payroll tax on the ballot. So go out and vote.
Thank you, Bob.
I'll go.
Yeah, Russell.
Parks Board was last night, and as Kristen indicated, we discussed the draft of the Parks Board, Parks Master Plan again, and any final comments she took down, and I thought all the comments tonight were great. They were very, very great. And that's it. We have four new board members who joined, and they were there last night, and it was great to see all of those seats filled. So that's it.
Thanks, Russell. Yeah, new energy. New ideas.
New ideas. Yeah.
Renee?
So, yeah, I'm cutting in and out, so I don't know if you guys can hear me or not, but on October 16th from 8:30 to 11, there is a Housing Advisory Committee housing forum, and I have the opportunity to moderate a conversation between some community leaders, so if you're interested in joining us on the 16th, that is an option. The Library Advisory Board is meeting in the next couple weeks, but there still are some vacancies. We have some interviews coming up at the end of this week and at the end of this week. And then the Senior Advisory Board will be meeting on Wednesday. That's all I have.
Awesome. Thanks, Renee. Being the fifth Tuesday in 1 month, there was less going on last week in my world as well, which was nice. Next week, sorry, I got a fog in my throat. Next week is the League of Oregon City annual conference, and it's virtual, just like the mayor's conference was, and pretty much every other conference that we've been having at government or business for the last 6 months. So I think most all of us are signed up, and I was happily surprised at how well the Oregon Mayor's conference went, and so I'm cautiously optimistic of having a good turnout and good meetings next week with League of Oregon Cities. So that's coming up, and a couple more days of good weather, and then we're gonna get some rain, and hopefully we'll get good weather again on the other side. But summer is quickly rolling to an end, and we're in fall, and that's about all I got too. Anything else that we missed? Good to the order before we adjourn to a urban renewal